Chips and blue chips are on the menu today at the stock. I'm Xavier from the dealing desk, and I'm joined by Don from the customer experience team. Don, tell me, what's your stock?
Hi Xavier, thanks for having me. My stock of the day is McDonald's, ticker MCD. Look, in a market where everyone is talking about AI, heavy momentum, and stocks which have been heavily skyrocketing, I think it's a good idea to kind of like pedal back a bit and look at a classic blue chip. McDonald's might not be the most exciting name on the board, but that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. It's a worldwide known brand. It's heavily franchised, cash generative, and traditionally seen as a more of a defensive play. A blue chip, a true blue chip. The stock is currently about 16-70% down from its recent highs. The dividend yield is quite solid, 2.6%, and recent numbers were also quite solid. Q1 FY26, McDonald's actually reported global comparable sales growth of 3.8%. But besides these numbers, I also like the chart setup actually. So on the monthly chart, Mac is hovering around its 50-month EMA, exponential moving average. The last 5 times the stock came back into that zone, it managed to turn higher from here. So that's quite significant. The previous major breakdown below this area was back in the 2000s during the dot-com bubble, so more than a quarter of a decade ago. So from a chart technical perspective, this is quite the interesting level to watch. Yeah, I guess overall McDonald's is not too flashy, but in a market full of loud noise at the moment, I like the combination it brings to the table, a true blue chip.
And when you approach this from a more, I guess, technical analysis standpoint, how do you factor in kind of things that aren't in the technical of, for example, some people might go, well, we've seen the rise of Ozempic and other drugs like that are, reducing people's demand for, fast foods. Does that factor in at all, or how do you account for that?
Approaching it from a chart technical perspective, I would myself personally actually factor nothing like news-based information into how I approach the stock or how I look at the stock. But in this case, we have, I guess, a great combination from chart perspective, chart technical perspective, and the recent sales numbers who are strong as well, with such a big brand behind the stock itself. But yeah, purely from a chart technical perspective, Ozempic and news, which might come across as a negative headline in the first place, are nothing I would consider when looking at the chart, purely technical. Yeah. How about yourself, Xavier? You were talking not about blue chips, but also chips. So,
well, yeah, I was looking at the market, seeing what's been happening recently, and obviously the big news is the Iran peace deal at the start of the week.
Yep.
And so as a result, everything was just a sea of green. And trying to find, I guess, a interesting story was almost trying to find a needle in a needle stack. And so I started looking, and there I was on the Australia Stock Exchange, and I kind of was thinking, oh, well, you know what? The Australia Stock Exchange itself is a listed company. So I was looking at ASX.AX,
Yep.
Which is currently trading at about $52. And currently it's pretty flat year to date. Though when I was looking, I could see that last month it was actually 10% up year to date, and has lost all those gains and such after they released some news downgrading their profit expectations just because of ballooning costs. And then has spent after that kind of dip, climbing back up to now. It's lost all those gains, but is now back being flat. And so I was trying to just look, and I was trying to think of, what's going forward going to be kind of the stories coming out of the ASX. And I was thinking about how with all this, the recent budget changes, where housing and such, which has usually been a go-to for a lot of investors, is now maybe not looking as attractive as an investment. And so I was thinking, who's going to be the one to benefit from that? And equities seem like it's going to be kind of where people naturally go to. And so, the ASX being the place that sells all of those, where it's all done, could be really set up well to take advantage of that. So that was kind of my thinking.
Nice. I like it. Now, I guess a follow-up question from my end would be, everyone could potentially draw what McDonald's business model is looking like, selling cheeseburgers and fries. But you were you were touching base on what the ASX might do, and that equities becoming a little bit more attractive in the recent environment or sentiment we are having. But can you dig a little bit deeper in terms of what is it that the ASX actually does to earn money?
Well, yeah, so they charge participants to list and kind of provide services obviously to people, both investors and companies looking to be invested in. And so that's kind of the main range of services there. And so it's just one of those things where I guess volatility, whether up or down, is going to result in people trading more. And so it was just one of those things where, to me, they seemed like people that could keenly win. And obviously, we live in volatile times.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you for that explanation.
That's all the time we have today. But for all things stocks and trading, head to ig.com/au.